in 2017, I went into a very serious level of heart failure. I was already in chronic end stage heart failure for some period, but this one was a lot worse. And for about 7 hours, I was in the ER fighting for my life. They moved me up to the ICU, and I went back into a very high level of sustained ventricular tachycardia, which is high rate of heart rate. But then I started to feel that I was going to die. I knew it was going to come, and I was praying this whole time. But I closed my eyes and I told God, please just take me. I can't take this pain anymore. It's too much. It was just beginning to be too much pain for me. And I'm not a person to usually give up and quit. So it was strange for me, but I had been beaten. I had been beaten so badly that I just wanted it to be over. So I closed my eyes, and this is what was really cool, is that I experienced my death. I felt a strong shake and a pop in my body. There was a surge of pain, but it was so quick, and it was over in just a moment that it didn't even register as bad as all the pain that I had felt, even though it was worse, but it was gone. And in that moment, when I did that shake and a pop, I exited my body. My soul exited from my body, and I was in a dark tunnel. But all the noise, all the chaos of that hospital room ceased immediately. And I felt this love and this joy just coming over me. It was almost as if the whole atmosphere was filled with this love and this joy. But I'm looking into this dark void, and it was confusing because this dark void was immense. It looked like outer space minus the luminous beings, no stars, no planets, no sun, but it was just pitch black. And yet I was able to see into it. And this was interesting because the dark void was beckoning to me. It was kind of compelling me to come into it. I was experiencing this love and joy, and it was telling me that this is what it's like here. Just to be here and just feel this love and joy and nothing else, and all is well. But it wasn't where the love and joy was emanating from. And this was very clear. So I knew that this was something that was trying to lure me in, not for my benefit, but maliciously. And so I looked at this void and I said, well, this can't be it. And it wasn't so simple as just saying, well, this can't be it. I knew that this wasn't right. And when I felt that love and that joy just rush over me, which was similar to that what I had felt all the whole time I was dying, yet it was so much more profound. And when I said that this couldn't be it, I realized that there was a light behind me. And I had been seeing this light the whole time because I could see into that dark void. Despite the fact that it was pitch black, I was able to see the depths of it and see the immensity to it. And so as I see this light behind me, I had this desire to turn towards the light. Now, what's interesting is I didn't actually need to turn towards the light, because when I did turn, that light, I was facing right at it, but I never lost vision of that dark void. So I was able to see in 360 degrees and at the same time. I didn't have to look at one and then stop looking at the other. I could still see it. But whatever I was focusing on, because now I'm focusing on that light, that took the predominance of my focus. So my focus was pinpointed right on that light. While I did see that dark void behind me and everything else around me, the primary focus was on that light. So as I started to look at that light, I said I wanted to be with it. Now, this light was extremely far away. I couldn't begin to calculate how far away it was, but it was a long way away. And I was there like that. As soon as I had said that I wanted to be there with that light, that was all it took. But yet I didn't feel any kind of inertia or any kind of speed that would have given me or wind on my face or any kind of sensory information that would have let me know that I had moved as quickly as I had. So this was really cool because I did remember every single step I took. So now I'm understanding that there is no sense of time like we have back in life. This was all happening so quickly, and yet it was so drawn out. There was no way to be able to determine how long this had taken me. So as I'm standing before this light, it was so beautiful and so resplendent. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And yet I knew that this light wasn't hurting my eyes. It was different than any kind of light you could ever imagine. But the feeling of it was permeating into me, and it was all love. This light was love itself. And it was permeating into my soul. And as I'm taking and soaking this in, I'm realizing that my intellect had gone through the roof. I was so much smarter. I knew things that I hadn't ever known in life. I knew things of history that I had never experienced. All these different memories of my life were all there, present. I didn't have any kind of confusion either. It was as if I was some sort of a supercomputer that can process many things at once. You know, you pull a bunch of windows up on your computer and you're able to look at different things and go through them all. That's what it was almost like, except I didn't have to do any kind of manual work to have it happen. It was just there. And so I'm looking at this light, and I'm trying to find the ends of the light. I'm looking to the left, I'm looking to the right, up and down. I couldn't find the end of this light. And what was really cool about my vision is that there was nothing hidden from me. So while I'm looking to the left, I'm still seeing to the right, and then I'm still seeing up and down at the same time and looking straight forward. Yet it was also like driving a car. You know, when you're driving a car and you can see the scenery as it goes past you, that's really cool. Except I could see what I was looking at the light. And I could see every single thing I saw all the way as my vision to the end of it. But at the end of my vision, I could watch it as it was continually growing. And I could not find the end of this light. No matter how long I took to do this, I don't think I would have ever found the end of it. It was immense. And it gave me the feeling and the understanding that this was so immense that it was going to last forever, that it was infinite. And I looked at this light, and when I said that I couldn't believe that it didn't hurt my eyes, I knew it was God. And as soon as I knew that, as soon as I made that recognition in my mind, that's when God said, "You can come in." And so I jumped right in. I couldn't even contain myself. I wanted to be with him so badly. And I want to say that this was God, but he didn't have a body. So I don't know if the light was just his love manifesting, and that's the way that it appeared to me, or if this was somehow part of his spirit. I can't say that. I can say, though, that this was directly his love, that this was something of him that was manifested and appeared in a light. So I'm in this light, and as I'm in it, I could feel his love rushing into me like a river. It was so powerful and so strong. But my soul was open to it. There was no resistance. I didn't put up any kind of barriers. I didn't do anything to resist that influx of that love. And it was so wonderful. It felt like a warm blanket or something you take out of the dryer on a cold day, and you put it on, and it makes you feel warm and safe and secure. That's how this love felt. And so I'm walking through this love, and I started to get this idea, this understanding of all the things that I was seeing of my life, of history that I had never even experienced, all these ideas and desires and knowledge. It was all there and present for me. And I realized how, as human beings, we have all these different distractions, if you will, but we have ideas and thoughts. But these are things that happen, and we can only, maybe identify one or two at a time. Some of us or some of you maybe that are really good can maybe go a little bit more than that. I'm not able to do that. So I don't know what that's like. But here I was able to do all kinds of things. And I realized that's how God is. It was so apparent to me that God has one thought, but contained in that entire thought is everything, all of the knowledge of mankind, all of the history, all of our ideas, all of my memories, yours, everyone's. And in this room were countless beings. Now, I didn't look beyond that room. I don't know if I was able to or not, because like I said, I could see really far. And there was nothing hidden. These beings, I could see these beings, the front of them. I could see the back of them. I could see every single one of them without losing vision of the front or back of one. versus another. I could see them all at once. So there was nothing that I couldn't see inside of this room. But I also knew that this room was just an entry point, like a greeting room. But in the middle of all these beings, which had the shape of a human torso, but they were shining with this brilliance, this just love, and the brilliant light that was like the light of the encasing light that was over this place, but it was not as bright and significant as that major light, but the one in the middle was, and that's where that love was coming from. And we were going to be continually filled like a straw, constantly drinking in that love, and it's going to come back out into the rest of heaven, never to be lost, always to be replenished. And for all of eternity, we're going to experience that love new and fresh and exciting in our lives, because his love is infinite. There's so many dimensions to it that we're going to be able to experience it in new ways throughout all of eternity. And so when I see him and I feel this love pouring into me, and I'm walking through the light, and then the light opens up, so I'm going back the exact same way, and I see my tunnel. I do think I saw other tunnels. This is the only time I will talk about the periphery. I can't say for sure, though, because it was in the periphery. I was focused on my tunnel. But at the end of my tunnel, it wasn't that dark void any longer. It was my hospital room, and I could see my body. So I was laying there, and it was like I was looking through my eyes, but I could see my back of my head, and still I could see everything. But I could see what the staff in the hospital room were doing. And there were about 20, maybe 15 people in the room, and several others outside. There was about 20 people gathered around doing different tasks, running and getting different pieces of equipment, or all the different things that they have to do. It was quite chaotic. And I'm going back to this chaos, knowing that pain's going to be smack dab right on me when I get back in. But I had this joy that it just couldn't be shaken. And so as I get back to my body, I snap right back into it. I didn't have to have anyone explain to me how to do it. It was natural. And as soon as I snapped back into my body, it did feel like that tunnel closed off, like that connection had like a barrier. But it was because of all the distractions of life rushing back into me at once. The chaos of the room, the worries, the fears, the pain. I mean, the pain was immense. And yet I knew that tunnel was still wide open. It was those distractions that we all experience in life. Those are what prevent us from having complete communion with God. And so I knew I could get back to that. I just had to be able to learn to control these distractions. Yet, as soon as I popped my eyes open, I'm trying to get up as much as I could, but I was strapped down because they were shocking me and doing a lot of other medical procedures to try to keep me safe. I had a mask on, and I had some stuff on my head to keep my brain cool, and to monitor my brain activity. Which, by the way, for 10 minutes I was dead. I had no heart, I had no brain activity. Everything was completely dead for 10 minutes. So that was really incredible, because as soon as I got back into my body, I didn't seem like I had any kind of brain damage, which you would usually suspect at that kind of a length of time of being dead. But I looked right up at the doctor, and I said to him, "Did I just die?" But he couldn't completely hear me because of the mask and everything. So he had to come down closer to me, and he had this look on his face, like he was just about to call it a day, that I was dead, and he was going to call the time and say that the patient is dead, because they had taken this Lucas machine off me, which also, by the way, broke a couple ribs. So, I mean, the pain really was more severe. But the doctor was looking in my face, and I said it again. I said, "Did I just die?" And he said, "Yeah, you just died." And I wanted that medical confirmation, because as a psychotherapist, I never believed in near-death experiences. I always thought it was neurochemicals, just a rush of neurochemicals coming into the brain and causing these memories. Clearly, having not lost conscious thought from the moment before I died to when I died, throughout the entire time in heaven, and then coming back and entering into my body again, never losing that conscious thought. And yet, while my physical brain was dead, I was in heaven laying down new memory. That's impossible. Particularly the things that I was able to do are beyond what any other human being has ever even imagined. So there is no way my brain could have came up with something on its own while it was dead and not functioning. It's an impossibility. So I all of my understanding and training was turned upside down. I remember thinking about some of my professors. I was like, boy, they really got it wrong. This is absolutely turning everything on its head. So the doctor then, they worked on me. They had to do surgeries. I had to have a new defibrillator put in. But what was really cool is for 2 years, I lived with this heart that was dead. When they took it out, when I had the heart transplant, they cut it open, did the biopsy, and they showed me all the pieces of my heart and all the different places, 5 or 6 different places. They said, without this piece and without this piece, or with this one, any one of those, your heart couldn't function because they were so encrusted with scar damage that the smooth muscle of the heart was no longer able to contract, so it was sending bad rhythms. That heart shouldn't have been able to work. And they said it was a medical miracle. However, as you now know, it was a God miracle. God decided to intervene in my life, and he pulled me back from the cusp of where I was going and has given me another chance. And that's the beauty of our God. When I was looking at his face, it was mercy. He wasn't condemning me for my sins. He was saving me from them. And it was because I loved him. I chose him. In that dark void, I made the conscious choice to turn and look at him. That's the beauty of our God. His mercy comes without strings. The only thing we need to do is ask for it. The only thing we need to do is give him love.